All right, so today we're going to be diving into self-expression, you know, like how we bring all that stuff from inside us, like our thoughts and feelings and ideas, into
Mhm.
something real and tangible. Especially in the world we live in, it feels like it's just constantly go, 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 and finding time for that can be, well, challenging.
Oh, absolutely. We're constantly bombarded with all these external pressures, and it feels like that internal dialogue, the space for it, gets kind of pushed aside, you know? And it's a shame because I think that's really where so much richness lies.
Totally. And that's actually what this deep dive is all about. We want to look at a tool that can help us cultivate that self-expression. And, we're not talking about some groundbreaking new method or anything. We're talking about something pretty classic, journaling.
Yep. Good old fashioned pen and paper.
Exactly. And we've both been talking about this for a while now, about how a well-made journal, like the ones from Stallion, for example, can be so much more than just, well, a blank notebook. They use that thick 120 GSM paper so ink doesn't bleed through. And their covers, a lot of them are that really nice, soft faux leather. Like, you can just tell it's made for keeping your thoughts for a long time.
It's true. You really do get that sense. And I think that tactile quality is what makes journaling so special. You're not just typing away on a screen, you're really engaging with the process, you know? And all those features, the paper, the binding, it all adds up to a completely different experience.
Absolutely. So today we're going to really try to understand why a journal notebook, especially when it's made with that attention to detail like Stallion does, is so valuable for helping us unlock our creativity and really connect with our emotions on a deeper level.
Mm.
Okay, so why don't we start with the basics? Why is a journal so essential for self-expression? I mean, it's more than just having a bunch of empty pages, right?
Yeah. It's like you're creating a space, a sanctuary for your thoughts and feelings. Unlike those random notes we jot down on our phones or, those ideas that just pop into your head and disappear just as quickly. With a journal, you have a consistent place to put everything down. It's almost like a physical anchor, right? And there's just something about putting pen to paper that connects you to your inner voice in a way that typing just doesn't.
It forces you to slow down too.
Yeah.
You're really engaging with your thoughts. So what kind of benefits do people usually see when they start journaling consistently?
Well, I'd say one of the biggest benefits is clarity. When you write down your thoughts and feelings, you have to organize them in a way. It's like you're bringing order to the chaos, right? It
Yeah.
helps you process things instead of just, I don't know, letting your emotions run wild. And for creative people, especially, a journal can be like an incubator for ideas, a safe space to experiment without judgment. And, even for professionals, people who are trying to solve complex problems, writing things down can be a game changer.
It's so true. I found that just writing down both the big and small moments, the everyday stuff, it helps me understand myself so much better. And then I can look back and actually see how I've changed and grown over time.
I think that's one of the most rewarding things about journaling. And speaking of looking back, this is where something like that 120 GSM paper that Stallion uses comes in handy. It's thick enough that you can use any pen or even paint, and nothing will bleed through to the next page. So you know that your words, your ideas, they're going to be preserved.
You're creating a legacy almost.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
becomes like an archive of your inner world.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about why journaling can be so great, but what happens when we don't have that outlet? What are some of the challenges people might face if they're not making time for self-expression?
Well, one of the biggest ones is what I like to call mental clutter. When you have all these thoughts and worries bouncing around in your head, it's like having a million tabs open in your brain, and it just becomes exhausting. If you don't have a way to get all that stuff out, it can really take a toll on you.
Yeah, it's like that feeling when you have way too many tabs open on your computer and everything just starts to slow down. And for creatives, I imagine that not having a dedicated space for exploring new ideas can lead to some pretty serious blocks.
Hmm.
It's like you're trying to create, but you don't even have a place to start.
Exactly. And on the emotional side of things, when we constantly push down our feelings and pretend they're not there, well, that can lead to feeling disconnected from ourselves and even from other people. And it can make it so much harder to figure out what we're actually feeling.
And that feeling of being stuck, like you don't know how to move forward in life,
Hmm.
I think that can come from not taking the time for self-reflection.
Mm.
A journal can give you the space to actually process everything that's going on.
I couldn't agree more. So, how does a journal, especially one with those nice features we've been talking about, actually help with all of that?
Well, I think even just having a dedicated notebook sends a signal to your brain that this is a space for reflection. And while Stallion offers all those journal prompts online, even a blank notebook like theirs can provide some structure. you know?
And that's actually a really good point. You can create your own structure, even if the journal doesn't come with any predefined sections. You can dedicate pages to specific themes, your goals, or even just to process certain emotions. It's almost like you're mapping out your internal world.
And then there's the beauty of the blank page. You can do whatever you want with it. You can write, drown, make lists, jot down random ideas, whatever feels right in the moment. There are no rules.
And I think that's where Lestallion's design choices really stand out. Something as simple as having numbered pages makes it so much easier to reference things later on. And they usually include a table of contents too, so you can create an index of your own thoughts and feelings. It's like you're building your own personal library. And then they use those dashed lines instead of solid ones, which makes it easier to write neatly, but also gives you the flexibility to do other things like draw or make diagrams.
It's all about creating a positive experience so you'll actually stick with it.
Mm.
So I think it'd be cool to share some personal examples, kind of bring this idea of features, telling stories to life. I know I had a time a couple of years ago when I felt completely overwhelmed. Work was crazy. I had a ton of personal stuff going on, and my mind was just racing constantly. I couldn't focus on anything.
That's something so many of us can relate to.
It really is. Anyway, I started using a Lestallien journal. I think it was one of the forest green ones with the soft cover. And I started just writing down everything that was in my head, my tasks, my worries, random thoughts, everything. And it's crazy, but just the act of writing it down on that nice thick paper gave me so much relief. It was like getting it out of my head and onto the page actually helped me create some mental space. And I even started using those dashed lines to make to-do lists, which was kind of fun. It really helped me break things down into smaller, more manageable steps.
It's amazing how something as simple as writing things down can have such a huge impact. It's like that physical act allows you to step back and see things from a new perspective.
Oh, for sure. And I'm thinking of my sister, who's a graphic designer. She was going through a really tough time creatively. Like she felt like she'd lost her spark. She ended up getting a Lestallien journal, one of the small A5 ones with the dark blue cover. And she said even just holding it, feeling the texture of the cover, it inspired her. And those blank pages, she said they were just so inviting, like they were waiting for her to fill them with ideas. And because it was small enough to take everywhere, she would jot down ideas or do little sketches whenever inspiration hit. And she truly believes that journal helped her get through that creative block.
It's a great example of how those little details, like the portability and the feel of the journal, can really make a difference in how we approach creativity. It's like it lowers the barrier to entry.
Totally. And one of my close friends went through a really rough patch emotionally after a big life change. She had all these feelings, but she couldn't really talk about them, not even with the people she was closest to. She ended up getting a Lestallien journal, one of the hardcover ones, I think, because she wanted something that felt really durable and would last, like a symbol of strength. She started writing in it all the time. Sometimes it was just a few sentences. Other times it was longer, more introspective stuff. But she told me that just having that safe space to write whatever she was feeling without judgment, it was like therapy for her. And over time, she started to understand her emotions better. She could see patterns and make sense of everything she was going through. That journal was like a lifeline for her during that tough time.
I love that. It shows how powerful it can be to just get those feelings out of your head and onto the page. And when you have a journal that's well made and durable, it can really feel like a companion on that journey. So, what are some things people can do to make journaling a more effective practice?
Well, I think the most important thing is to be consistent. Even just 10 or 15 minutes a day can make a huge difference. You don't need to write a novel every time you open your journal. Some days it might just be a few bullet points or even a single sentence.
And don't be afraid to use prompts, especially if you're new to journaling or feeling a little stuck. Lestallien has a bunch of prompts on their website, which is a great resource. They have everything from simple questions about your day to prompts that really make you think about your values and what you want in life.
And I think it's important to experiment with different writing styles too. Try free writing, where you just let your thoughts flow without stopping to edit, or you can make gratitude lists, or even try some creative writing prompts. Just have fun with it.
Absolutely. And once you've been journaling for a while, it can be really insightful to go back and read your old entries. It's amazing how much you can learn about yourself by seeing how your thoughts and feelings have changed over time.
It's like having a conversation with your past self.
Exactly. And remember, this is your journal, so don't worry about being perfect. It doesn't matter if your grammar isn't perfect or if your writing is messy. The important thing is to be honest and authentic.
It's a judgment-free zone. And thinking about those Lestallien journals again, I really appreciate that they use that soft cover because it makes them so comfortable to write in. And the back pocket is super handy too, especially if you like to keep little notes or things that inspire you.
All those little details really add up to a positive experience.
They do. So as we wrap things up, what are some of the key takeaways you want listeners to remember about journaling?
Well, through journaling, you really cultivate emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
You become more aware of your feelings and how to manage them, and it's such a powerful tool for boosting creativity. It gives you the space to play with ideas and see where they take you. And ultimately, all of this leads to greater mental well-being. You feel more clear-headed, more resilient, and more connected to yourself.
In a well-made journal, something like what Lestalion makes, can really elevate that whole experience. It becomes like a partner in your self-discovery journey. So to everyone listening, what thoughts or feelings might benefit from having a dedicated space? Are there any ideas swirling around in your head that are just waiting to be explored? Take a moment to think about how you currently process your inner world. Could spending even a few minutes a day with a journal bring you new insights, clarity, or deeper connection to yourself? Maybe now is the perfect time to see if a thoughtfully designed journal could be a valuable companion on your journey of self-discovery.
It's definitely worth considering.
It is.